Hollywood's biggest stars, but when John Travolta's son passed away in January, his world fell apart. Well, now it's reported that Travolta is trying to leave the Church of Scientology, a move some say could signal the end of the church worldwide. Bryan Seymour explains.
Today, there are more than 17 million children worldwide on psychiatric drugs. I've been a child advocate for the last 8 years and just speaking out for kids' rights.
Your faith teaches that mental illness does not exist, yet your son has a mental illness. What happens when these realities collide?
As far as John Travolta is concerned in leaving the church, then he will become an enemy of the church.
The sudden death of 16-year-old Jett Travolta in January shattered his famous father and mother, actress Kelly Preston. The couple always claimed their unwell son suffered seizures and weight problems due to a little-known and rare disease.
He got what is rarely a thing to deal with, but it's called Kawasaki syndrome. And it's very easily handled if you identify it. And we did, and it was handled within 48 hours.
The Travoltas rejected reports their son was autistic. As Scientologists, they could not even admit that autism exists.
And I do care so very, very, very much. So what do you say? We need to clean this place up? Huh?
A recent newspaper report claimed Travolta was angry at Scientology for denying his son's illness and that his faith in their doctrines was fading.
Most Scientologists accept that Scientology can handle any mental illness. I think they believe that.
The famous faces of the cult, including the Travoltas, have been recruited as soldiers in Scientology's vicious war on psychiatry.
I mean, it's insane. It's either we're doping up our kids on cocaine-like stimulants or we're drugging them and having them possibly kill themselves or hurt other kids.
But Scientology has released statements where they say, we tell our members, if you're sick, go and see a doctor, get medical treatment.
But usually it's too late. Usually, and that's the problem.
What is the problem? What do you see as the problem?
Well, it's really awareness is the problem. There's not enough awareness.
Things changed dramatically in the hours after their son's tragic death, when John Travolta appeared to finally admit the truth. In this alleged copy of his statement to police in the Bahamas, Travolta at last conceded his son was autistic. Scientology believes all psychiatry is made up, completely false, that there's no such thing as mental illness and no medical treatment for it. Scientology claims psychiatry was responsible for the Nazi Holocaust, the 9/11 attacks, and that it's plotting to ruin mankind.
Psychiatrists employ drugs and conditioning techniques in order to change people from what they normally would be into killing machines.
David Graham was in charge of gathering and administering confidential information on Scientologists, rising through the ranks, eventually working at the centres in New York and Los Angeles. He got out 20 years ago and wants Scientology outlawed, citing abuses of human rights. In Scientology, when they tell you something is confidential, what does that actually mean?
When the person gives the information up, as far as they're concerned, the information stops right there. But in actual fact, it doesn't.
Graham believes John Travolta is fearful that if he leaves, Scientology's leader, David Miscavige, will savage him by releasing personal details about his sexuality and declare him what's called a degraded person, allowing for the information to be reworked and changed. And what do you mean by a degraded person?
Like a pedophile, for example.
Would they go to that extreme?
Well, they have in the past, so on other people, so I can't see why it wouldn't happen.
A spokesman for John Travolta has declared he remains devoted to Scientology now and forever. Scientology is already anxious about the outcome of a major fraud case in France that could see it outlawed. Losing its most popular celebrity member could set off a domino reaction, toppling Scientology worldwide.
You can lie to people, you can harm them, there is no limit to what you can do as long as you don't get caught.
And Kelly Preston will speak publicly about her son's death for the first time at a women's conference in October. That was Bryan Seymour with that report. Now, coming up